I fulfilled one of my greatest wishes by breaking my iPod. Let me explain. So I may have mentioned here or there that I have a passing interest in the recent film Guardians of the Galaxy. Anyway, my favorite character in the film is Star-Lord, which is to say, my favorite character in the film is Chris Pratt. Let's be honest, he's the best. He's a character who, like me, is sort of permanently stuck in the 80s. The only difference being that he actually lived in the 80s at one point. I'm just inexplicably mired in 1980s culture because it's one of the best things there is. The prime time of Michael Jackson's career, Back to the Future, the original Indiana Jones movies, Ronald Reagan, he seemed cool. Young John Cusack. Maybe that last one's more just me, but he was a heck of a teen actor. In Guardians, Star-Lord shares my passion, and one of the ways this manifests itself is in the fact that he carries around a cassette player with a mixtape made for him by his mom, featuring rad songs, killer tracks, tasty licks from the 70s and 80s. This is both a memory of his mom and a little slice of Earth culture that he can carry around the galaxy with him, which is nice. It's sweet, really. So, being me, one of the first things I thought when I saw the movie was, I need a cassette player and a collection of cassettes so that I can jam to classic tunes. Just to be more specific, my thinking was not, I really want a cassette player. That would be cool and fun. I should look for one. No, it was more along the lines of, I love that. I physically need that to be in my hand right now. That's a necessity. I couldn't possibly go on listening to this paper-thin, touchscreen Apple device I'm using. No, sir. I need a big, chunky, inconvenient, pretentiously vintage 1980s cassette player. I need to check every thrift store ever to get one. Get me an 80s sound equipment expert on the horn. I'd like a word. Unfortunately, the explosive success of Guardians of the Galaxy has increased the popularity of cassette players, Walkmen, as they say, by approximately 6,000%, so they've become quite pricey on eBay and Amazon. I mean, I'm not going to shell out 900 bones for a Walkman, no matter how much I want it. That's a lot of bananas. That's just not in the cards. So I've had to put that dream on hold, perhaps permanently, which is quite sad. Meanwhile, on a seemingly unrelated, but it's going to be related, and I told you earlier that it was in fact related, so you should still be paying attention because it's relevant. Note: my iPod has been slowly breaking over the course of several months. It's one of these newer iPod Nanos, which did away with the classic circular control pad of buttons in favor of a full touchscreen design with a few buttons on the top and side. Now this seems all well and good, unless you run with your iPod in your hand and happen to get as horribly sweaty as I do when I run. So, unless you're me. You see, each day, a little bit of the sweat that consistently pours down my hand like a faucet when I'm running gets onto the iPod I'm clutching, and some of it inevitably seeps into the device. Over time, this has messed with the touchscreen to the point where it was having trouble sensing where my finger was pressing. For instance, I might hit music and it selects radio, or I might try to pause a song and instead the volume shoots up to full blast and I get immeasurably terrified and have this sudden apocalyptic feeling that the end is near. Pretty normal. It reached the point where I could press the screen over and over for several minutes and nothing would happen at all. Or occasionally icons would be selected when I hadn't even touched the screen, like the device had a mind of its own. So listening to music on my runs has been horribly frustrating. Come on, play Smooth Criminal. Play Smooth Criminal. That's all I want. I've been pressing this for days. You know what? Whatever. Fine. I'll just listen to the theme from Beetlejuice for the 9th time in a row. What's the point anymore? And I finally started using the buttons on the side of the iPod to play or pause a song or to increase or decrease the volume, but I still couldn't select or change songs with that, so it really didn't help me much. Then, one fine day, on a particularly boring run, when I had a bad case of the grumpies, and I was just fed up with my iPod, my life, my cardio routine, I decided randomly to just double-click the play pause button. Just, play the odds, see what would happen. A little Russian roulette, if you will. Wow, that got dark. That's not what it was like at all. And guess what happened when I double-clicked? It skipped to a different song. Not the next song, mind you, but a random other song on my iPod, which happened to be The Circle of Life from The Lion King. Classic. I don't think this moment could have been any more climactic or emotionally charged. I mean, just when all hope is lost, I helplessly double-click a button and hear, those are not the correct lyrics, not verbatim, in case you were wondering. So now I come to the realization that while my iPod's touchscreen no longer works, I can still use it to an extent. I can press buttons that turn it on and off, play or pause a song, skip to another song, and change the volume. In effect, I have downgraded my iPod to a 1980s cassette player. It has the exact same functionality as a Walkman now. I just need to take a moment to appreciate the irony of this situation. okay, I already appreciate it. I mean, I want a cassette player, I'm angry about my iPod breaking, and the universe says, oh, what's that? You don't have a cassette player? Well, boo-hoo. Now your iPod's just gonna break to the point of being a cassette player. How's that for karma? Hey, 1988 called, they want their sound system back. Welcome to 30 years ago, loser. I mean, I'd like to think the universe isn't that harsh, but you never know. And I'm actually kind of happy about the fact that I kind of have a 1980s cassette player now. I mean, it sounds better than saying I have a partially broken iPod. So I guess the lesson here is that the universe works in mysterious ways, and even when it takes something away from you, there's always something good to look for. A silver lining amongst the gray. Hey, it's like the old saying goes, you know, one man's partially broken iPod is another man's 1980s era cassette player. Or in this case, the same man's. They both belong to one man. Boy, man. Anyways, I'm going to take my 80s iPod and dance like nobody's watching. So, like Kevin Bacon. I'll catch you later.